sirree, we're back. And a very good evening to you, my dear friends. Thank you very much for joining us to begin this weekend as we wrap up another week here in the Spice Isle. I'm George Grant. Friday night, and tonight our program comes to you in two parts. Two parts. Yes, sirree. As many of you are probably already very acutely aware, the Prime Minister is going to be addressing the nation momentarily. And there's a link right over where we are right now. I'd like you to click on that link right now to hear what the Prime Minister has to say. Alrighty, folks, there you have it. That was live. Prime Minister Keith Mitchell speaking to the nation tonight about continuing efforts to relieve some of those who are hurting real badly already, even though we seem to have just entered this phase of the coronavirus. I mean, we have so much to be thankful for when you stop and think about what's happening in the rest of the world. For example, take a look. Italy has now exceeded China, where this thing originated, as far as fatalities are concerned. It's a growing concern. Then, as you're going to hear tonight, this thing is up there in the Bahamas, it's in Haiti, it's in the Dominican Republic, it's in Jamaica, it's in St. Bartholomew, it's in St. Martin, it's in Guadeloupe, it's in St. Lucia, it's in St. Vincent, Trinidad, Guyana, all around us. Very good reason why we should be thankful. Now, mentioned to you that tonight's program is going to come to you in two parts, well, at least two parts. That's because we are going to be joined. He's probably just gone to get himself a cup of water or coconut coffee or whatever. But Brian Pitt's going to be joining us tonight. So while we await his return, let's take a little break. Come back.
Calling all vehicle owners. Inspection and licensing continues, and at Hubbard's we want you to be ready. From February 16th to March 31st, registration numbers 2501 to 5000 with single registration letter, or registration numbers 251 to 500 with plural registration letters will receive 11% off new torque tires and PowerMax batteries. Don't get caught unprepared. Visit us today at the Motor Department in Mount Gay or the Tire Bay in Grand Anse near to the building supplies.
Well, I don't know where he's gone to hide, but I was looking at this guy here just a few minutes ago, and so far his internet seems to be holding up, but for some reason he's just maybe taking a phone call or whatever. Anyhow, while we await the return of Brian, let's take a look at some other coronavirus-related headlines around the region. You know, we think we got it bad here, and it hasn't arrived yet, as far as we know. Well, still no confirmed cases here, okay? Haiti, however, their government has stopped commercial flights, and they have imposed a curfew under state of emergency as first COVID case is recorded. That's in Haiti, okay? And a curfew has also been imposed in the Bahamas in an effort to fight the speed of COVID-19. Hope that slows it down. Somehow I doubt it. Bermuda's government will be providing benefits to people unemployed as a result of COVID-19. You know, the government here, they've put together a team that's going to be meeting with various stakeholders around the country and put their heads together, come up with some way of solving, well, not solving, but providing some ease people who are going to be very badly affected. And let me tell you, people are already being affected. You just talk to the vendors, you talk to the taxi drivers, you talk to the tour operators, you talk to the hotel operators. Come on. Especially those, people who are so closely related to and dependent on the tourism industry. By the way, um, you know that last night there was supposed to be this virtual town hall meeting, yeah? Okay, that did not materialize. They have postponed it by a week. So it's now going to take place apparently next Thursday night. As soon as they confirm that, um, I'll be letting you know. However, I want to give you a little heads up right now. I want you folks to make sure you join us on Sunday morning. And let me tell you how this came about. I'm sure that many of you know a gentleman economist by the name of Dr. Patrick Antoine. I have a WhatsApp forum. And Patrick came up with a comment yesterday, which included words to the effect that, we really need to put together a think tank. Don't just wait on government. Each of us has a role to play, right? Put our heads together and come up with ways to chart the way forward. Because when this thing's over and done with, we will have been really affected. And we're going to have to get out of this mess somehow, okay? So Patrick said, why don't we put a forum together? I read that and I thought, before I could say anything, Alan Baczynski chimed in. So I spoke to both of them. And I asked them what they thought about the idea of us all getting together on Sunday morning and having a discussion. I think Patrick's probably going to be in Barbados. There's somebody else, one of our very dear friends, Tessa Barry, very deeply involved in agriculture. She's just gotten a doctorate. And I asked her as well to join us. I also asked the gentleman you're going to be meeting in just a few minutes here, Mr. Brian Pitt. So those are the four we have so far. Starting at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. We're going to have a discussion. Put our heads together and let's call it the embryo of a think tank, if you will. That's what we're putting together. And it's one thing to sit around and yada 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 yada, criticize, condemn. Yeah. We got to get off our duffs and do something. And I'd like you to join us now. You can join us on this platform by watching on Sunday morning. By the way, Patrick has to go to church, so he's not going to be in until about 10:30. And we're also going to be joined by a banker, Monty Archibald, a former banker, I should say. So it's quite a lineup here. Agriculture, banking, business, economics. Brian is what? Brian is everywhere. Okay. Join us on Sunday morning for this. You may participate by chiming in on Facebook, but if you feel that you'd like to actually join us on the platform, just send me an email through the website, Grenada Broadcast. Give me your email address, your name, and I would be delighted to send you a link so that you too can chime in. As long as you have a computer or a smartphone, either one must have a Chrome browser on it. Well, who has a computer or a cell phone without a Chrome browser on it? I don't know anybody. So, what you'll need to do is click on that link. Bingo. We'll see you. We'll hear you. Okay? So, let me know. Send me an email through Grenada Broadcast, and I'll make sure that we send you a link to join us. Now, move fast, because I think I can only accommodate, I think about 8 people. So hurry up and send that to me. All right. Let me take a look here, by the way. You guys are probably saying, hey, what's wrong with that guy this evening? He hasn't even said hello to us. Brian? Hurry up, Brian. Okay. Brian should be back here momentarily. But in the meantime, let's take a look and see who day and who day so far. Uh-huh. I think I've got my pages all mixed up here tonight. Yeah, that happens when you're getting to be an old man like me. Okay? Yeah. You know. Okay. That page. Okay. Add. And then do this. Keep this by here kind of quiet. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at some of the comments out there. TF is saying hello. Hello there to you, to TF, and so is Bernard Gilbert and Margaret Francis. Ryan Jabon is saying he loves royal blue. Royal blue. Oh, okay. Ryan looks at every piece of clothing I wear. Jeez. Thank you, Ryan. Dennis Charles is saying, stay safe, Sir George. Let me tell you, Dennis, I'm in sort of quarantine myself. Self-imposed quarantine. Let me run through this quickly. I see that Brian is back. He's back. And you, Ryan, you think this royal blue is nice? Wait until you see the green that this gentleman is wearing, man. He looks like a unicorn. Just you wait. Hold on a sec. Anyhow. So Margaret is there. Ryan is saying, curfew in Orlando, Florida, Orange County. All restaurants closed, but we can order on the computer and have food delivered to the house. Red Lobster doing free deliveries. Oh boy, Red Lobster. Sharon, I wonder if Sharon's listening tonight. Sharon brought me some lobster from Petit Martinique a couple of days ago. I had lobster for breakfast. Come on. I don't mess with lobster. Ryan says Grenada's economy is going to dive down low. Let's be optimistic, Brian. It's probably not going to be as bad as a lot of people think. T.F. Richard says things are so bad for want of a better word. Folks can't and haven't been saving for a rainy day. But there's a saying. I try to save for a rainy day, but it kept drizzling all the time. I really hope it doesn't hit us hard. You funny guy. Brian says he's looking forward to Sunday. Yeah, Ryan, Brian's going to be on in just a minute, man. Let him tell you how he's going to coordinate this whole thing. You know, he's going to have a big stick with him because people who are going to be a part of that are big guns. And Brian is a kind of no-nonsense guy, so anyway. Let's see here. Sharon is saying good evening to the family. Well, Sharon, I was just talking about your lobster girl. Spice Babes Duncan saying howdy as well. And Oil and Nash is there as well. So is Jackie O. Now, so much for that. Let me bring this gentleman in so that you see that he's really here in the flesh. Take a look. See what I mean? Doesn't he's got his, is that coconut water, Mr. Man? Pardon me? Hold on a sec, Brian. I didn't hear you there. If you're hearing me, Brian, just nod your head. Yeah, he's hearing me. Then why aren't we hearing you? Brian must have given away his His microphone. No, oh my goodness. Hello, Brian. Where are you? He's talking. I know I can hear him. He's hearing me. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, Brian. Oh, Brian. Oh, Brian. Did you turn on the microphone on your laptop? Because you know sometimes when you're logging on to these calls, the microphone asks you, or the computer or the cell phone will ask you to turn on your mic and your camera. Did you do that? Did it ask you? Doesn't make sense talking to me because I can't hear you. Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, well, well. What a bummer. What a bummer. Oh. All right. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep trying. Keep talking, bro. Sing happy birthday 3 times. I'm only kidding. He's probably having internet problems because look, he's frozen solid now. Huh? Yeah. The man's frozen solid. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, Brian. Oh, well, oh, well, oh, well.
You hear me now?
Yeah. Hello?
Are you hearing me?
Ah,
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
yes, I'm hearing you now, sir.
I'm hearing you now.
Okay. So, Mr. Pitt, you're going to be a unicorn tonight, eh? Or green?
I am.
You am. Okay, okay, Brian.
I am. So what's wrong with green?
Nothing's my favorite color.
The Parliament building was in green for about a week.
You noticed? You noticed? And man, there were people on social media asking, why wasn't it red, green, and yellow? Why did it have to be just green? You know, I couldn't give a hoot one way or another. Brian, listen, I know that you were listening to the Prime Minister tonight, and I got to hear your assessment. Shoot.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack, George. I will have to listen to that speech again. But while the Prime Minister was talking, I couldn't help but thinking of the number of workers on contract and the number of single parents who, as they say, turning hand. Yes? We're a population of 100,000 people on an island of 2 square miles, George.
You know, Brian, you're breaking up. You're
How
obviously.
many vulnerable people? You listening?
Yeah, you're breaking up and you're freezing up and you're upping up everything.
Yeah, I see myself freezing.
Yeah. Ain't that a bummer? Okay, but keep on talking anyway. Keep on talking.
Well, I think I'm freezing badly.
Hey, never mind. Just keep on talking.
Okay, I couldn't help George, but think of all the people that are on contract and all the people that are turning hand to make a living.
Hmm.
And how do we measure how many people fall into those categories? And whether or not these measures that I was hearing tonight from the Prime Minister, how are they going to affect all these other people? Now, one would think that it would be nice to have a rally and ask all these vulnerable people to come to have an idea of how many people are involved, but we can't do that. You know, we are socially distancing ourselves from people these days. So I don't know how a lot of these measures are going to affect the economy as a whole. There's an old saying, George, that the people who have the least spend the most. And if people don't have money in their pockets, how this economy is going to move forward. There's a lot of conversation these days, especially during this COVID-19 era, of a wage, a social wage, getting money in the hands of the people who spend. And I don't know how we can do that, because our system is not built to do that, to cut everybody a check and send it to them, or put it on an account. There are a lot of people that are not in the system, either in the VAT system or the NIS system. There are a lot of self-employed people that are not in the system. So how are we going to help those people? I don't have the answers, George. I have to study this speech again. I hope some of our friends in the world of economics can put a finger on some of these problems that we are going to have going forward. March, April, and May. I heard the Prime Minister talk about a 30% reduction in electricity charges starting in March. This is March. The ruling has just come down, and the government has to come up with a sum of money. I don't want to quote the exact figure, but it's a large sum of money. That tells me that we have a buyer all ready to spend some money for GRENAC. And if that is so, they should tell us about this as soon as possible. I don't know that GRENAC will reduce the prices by 30%. So this seems to be a fait accompli. That GRENAC has in fact is now going to be in the hands of a new majority shareholder. Is that shareholder going to be holding the 50% shareholding of WRB, or are they going to be holding 100%, which includes all the other shares, including the shares that are owned by Government of Grenada and the NIS? George, I feel like I'm talking to myself here. Are you hearing me at all?
I'm hearing you, and you're not freezing anymore. I'm hearing you just fine. While we're on the matter,
I'm also hearing you.
On the chat forum last night, I think it was, there was somebody who said that I think it was on McVie chat. Somebody was saying that GRENAC was a bit of a loser in this whole exit judgment because they did not get what they wanted. Apparently, they were asking for a lot more than they got. But today I haven't seen the judgment yet, but I spoke to somebody today who said, somebody from GRENAC, who said that they felt they did extremely well. Have you had a chance to look things over?
No, but I would imagine that GRENAC would be happy. They get what they want. Well, in negotiations, GRENAC could have started fairly high, I would imagine. So what they're getting now will get them out of a very hostile environment in Grenada, and I suspect that they would be happy to leave. My concern is what happens as we go forward. Who are the new majority shareholders? And how are they going to implement this 30% reduction in fuel in electricity charges that the Prime Minister has promised tonight in the next 3 months? I gather we won't see it at the end of March because we have those bills right now, but we are going to see it at the end of April, May, and probably June. I look forward to that.
I would imagine that come Sunday morning when we start this discussion about the way forward, that's something that I'm sure you and Alan are going to be going at, isn't it? Maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag.
No. This is a serious economic shock, George, that we are going through. And I was wondering to myself if some of the money the government planned to use is coming from the CBI program. There was no mention of the CBI program tonight. And my understanding that is a fairly liquid program. Yes? And the majority of funds of that program is now being used in the tourism sector. And the tourism sector is a sector that is under heavy strain right now because our doors are locked from the outside and from the inside.
Tough days ahead, sir.
But George, and if we're going to close the ports, how are we going to replenish our food? Are the supermarkets? You know, I there are more questions than answers in this thing, George. I couldn't help also but thinking. I heard the Prime Minister mention the National Strategic Committee, um, and who are these people? Are they the social partners that is now under a different name? And who do these people represent? Now, there's a Chamber of Commerce, there's the trade unions, there are the NGOs, there are the churches. Do they represent the majority of people in Grenada who are not suffering? I don't know, because they're the ones that are advising on some of these measures.
Just another of those
Yes,
mysterious occurrences. I mean, there's a lot going on that we don't know.
that's why I say there are more questions than answers in this at this time, George. And I don't know. If all the restaurants are closed, and a number of people were complaining to me today about this whole takeout food situation. Um, a lot of the small restaurants and people who turn in their hand might have one table in their establishment that might serve 5 or 6 people. Um, and I bought lunch today at a place where one or two people were sitting and they were upset because they didn't want to take their food out. You know, um, so we're going to have a lot of layoffs, and people are being paid by the day. There are a lot of people on contract, George. If I'm not mistaken, there was an article in the Grenada Today last week where an employee in the registry was complaining that they have been there for 10 or 20 years, and apparently government want them to sign a contract now to continue working and get an increase. So how is this unemployment insurance thing going to work if the majority of people are now on contract and a daily they get paid as they work? I was on the beach the other afternoon, George, and I was amazed at the amount of children and young people I saw on the beach, and a lot of them didn't seem to be supervised. I hope they are not parents leaving their kids at home to look after themselves. If you have 3 kids and a 7 and a 5 and a 3-year-old, is a 7-year-old going to be looking after the other two while the mother goes to work because she have to work? And what's going to happen?
Brian, just stick a pin there for a minute.
Yeah,
I can't let this go without making a comment. I understand how tough it could be on parents when you don't have somebody to leave with your kids. I understand that. Let's be real.
yep.
But Brian, I was reading a newspaper article today where somebody was bemoaning the fact that she's got to go to work and nobody to leave the kids with. Brian, you know, I don't know the lady, so I'm not
Mm.
pointing at her. But Brian, what I found so fascinating is that should Buju Banton come down here this weekend, a lot of these same people who are complaining about they don't know what to do with their kids, I mean, them gone. Them gone.
I don't know that to
Uh,
be true, George.
Pardon me?
I don't know that to be true. A Bojo Banton show at Queen's Park will probably have about 5 to 6,000 people. Let's give him 10,000 people. There are another 90,000 people in Grenada. So the majority of people, the majority of single parents are not going to Buju Banton, George. That is a misnomer. Yes, there are some people that will go to Buju Banton, but the majority of people who have single parents who have 3 kids do not go to Buju Banton. We
I
just
agree
say
with you.
that. That is not true.
I didn't say the majority of them would be going to Buju Banton, but there are people who would be complaining about
Yes.
not having anybody to leave with their kids. And look, here's another example. You know that in Grenada today we have become uh, very, very subjected to the dependency syndrome. We depend on handouts. And while I'm ecstatic to hear that the government is taking steps to help people who are going to be hurting as a result of the coronavirus, Brian, I fear that there are going to be a lot of people out there Figure, hey, so some money? Well, let me go and see what I get now. Come on, Brian. Come on, Brian. You know that to
But
be the truth.
George, over the past 15 to 20 years, we have created a culture of dependence, you know.
Exactly.
The politicians in this country have created this dependence in order for us to vote for them. They don't discuss issues anymore. I think we discussed this on a program before. They come out there in a rally and they hand things out. So people have grown accustomed to this dependence, and that's how they live. But that does not say, George, that that a lot of people, I'm not going to say the majority, although right now are trapped in finding money to pay the rent,
Yeah.
to buy the food, to
Yep.
send their children to school, to buy the books for their children. Mind you, a lot of them, and in this day and age, I wonder, George, why young women have 3 and 4 children, and they're not protecting themselves if there's AIDS
Yep.
out there.
Yeah.
But some of them are trapped in just finding somebody to help them look after the kids.
Yep.
That's a
And
social reality we have to deal with, George.
unfortunately, they're the ones who are going to hurt because for somehow the money just does not gravitate to people like them. It goes to the people who are dependent,
Exactly.
addicted.
And and that is a trap a lot of young people find themselves in, and those are the people that's going to be hurting. And there'll be another fallout over this whole period, George. There'll be a lot of mental stress for people who may not be able to make ends meet, given all these things that are now being put in place, and they can't take advantage of it. How we implement of these measures is going to be crucial in the next 4 weeks or so. And school might very well be closed indefinitely, because if we have a case tomorrow morning, I don't see us reopening schools in a month or two.
I hear you.
We have closed the schools when there are no cases.
Yeah.
What happens if there are 2 or 3 cases tomorrow morning?
Panic.
You know,
Brian, before you go any further,
George,
let me bring some of these folks in here. I don't want them to feel left out. First of all, Dexter
sure.
Miller says the price of fuel is dropping, so he's banking on that. Well, I'm not sure. I guess he's referring to the PM's address. Ryan Jaman says tourism is a fickle sector of the economy. We all know that, Ryan. John Caliste says the port should be open for commerce. Did you know of any plans to close the port, Ryan?
There's been some conversation in that direction, George. I don't know that it's confirmed.
Okay. Dexter says if the tourism sector is closing, what will happen to the farmers? Don't they deserve a bailout? What say you?
Well, the Prime Minister did talk about some program to help the farmers. I don't know how that is going to work. I think he was talking about helping people clean the farms and pick the fruits. I don't know what the details are in that regard.
And Margaret is also asking the same question here of John Caliste. Are they closing the port? I don't know. That's something we'll have to find out. And Ryan Jabon says, that's why I stopped sending barrels of stuff home. The dependency syndrome, I guess.
But George, no, that is another issue that is not measured correctly. This remittance issue, because North America is under siege right now, that remittance is going to dry up. We have not over the years measured the impacts of remittance, but we're going to feel it now. We're in trouble, George.
Lovington Taylor says minimum wage just goes from
I
hand
think
to mouth.
we're freezing again, George.
Yeah, but you're back now. You're back. You're back. Lovington Taylor says minimum wage just from hand to mouth. Okay. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Ryan says single young girl with 3 kids could be caught in the dependency syndrome without men. Yeah. TF says, Brian, did you listen to the address given by Dr. Rowley in Trinidad?
No, I did not.
That takes care of that. Ryan says, Mag, spot on. Sex is man and woman business, so do not blame women. Brian, I don't know whether you heard today or not, but home porting cruise ships will be allowed in Barbados waters, but no shore leave allowed for the crew. Did you hear that?
No, but that is expected because a lot of the crew have some issues. That's why I think some of the ships are sending crew home, you know. I think we mentioned last week, George, a lot of the crew is from the Philippines, the Caribbean, and Mexico, maybe.
Yes, sir. Today, the government Grenada also issued a marine and yachting advisory. Did you see that?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what. For the benefit of those who did not see it, I'm just going to run that now. It's just a few seconds long. Folks, take a look at this.
Effective immediately, live on board and pleasure boat passengers and crew will not be permitted to come on shore in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. These persons are encouraged to contact the Port Authority or the appropriate marina via VHF and follow prescribed procedures for receiving supplies. These requirements are enforced by immigration and public health regulations. Failure to comply may result in fines and arrest. Please note that any establishment engaging live-on-board passengers and their crew is subject to stringent measures. This has been a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health.
Okay, they began circulating that this afternoon. Brian, listen, I'm looking forward to having you sit right next to me here on Sunday morning. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It's short notice. And is there anything you want to add before we go? Because there's something I really want to play. It's probably about a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. It talks about COVID. This is something actually that was sent to me by our good friend Margaret in New York. And anything you want to say before I play this?
No, George. Only to say that I just heard that release, and two things come to mind. We have a lot of ports of entries, especially on the West Coast. And ship stores is something that people, they get in a dinghy and they come ashore and they go to a shop. Do we have a Coast Guard fleet to protect our shores?
No.
You know, we put all these things in place, and I wonder how are we going to, anyhow, let's leave that alone. I hope the Yachties got that message.
I'm ashamed of myself for forgetting to bring this up earlier on, but I'm sure that you saw the press release that came out last night. I don't know if you saw the one that came out today from the government of Grenada about the ICSID decision.
No.
Brian.
All right, George. Have a good evening. You want to send me details about Sunday and what time and thing. You're going to take away from my Sunday morning leisure time.
I don't mind.
I know you don't mind.
Anyway,
there goes my golf, George.
Hold on a sec. Let me share this release. You know that it seems like GRENADAB has come out ahead of the game in this issue. Well, I shouldn't say GRENADAB. WRB versus the government of Grenada. Okay. And Brian, I really, for those who have not seen or heard this, I really want to read these two releases because they're very short. The first one that came out yesterday, I guess around this time last night, is captioned, "Golden opportunity opened up for electricity consumers in Grenada to obtain cheaper electricity. Brian, this is after finding out these folks have to pay $190-something million, eh? Okay? Talk about spin, man. You ever heard of a bowler by the name of Ken High? I mean, them guys would put this fella to shame. Anyhow, here's the text of the story. It says the tribunal in the international arbitration between the government of Grenada and WRB has issued its ruling. In 2017, WRB brought the government of Grenada before the tribunal, demanding that the government of Grenada buy back WRB's 50% shares in GRENADABROADCAST. The tribunal, in giving its ruling, followed the contract as was signed by the government of Grenada in 1994 during the Nicholas Brathwaite administration. The market value of the shares was not used, but instead the formula, as dictated in that contract, was used to arrive at the repurchase price, which is much higher than the market value. The award is as follows. Listen to this, Brian. And it doesn't say EC or US. It just quotes figures. The award is as follows. $58,427,962 for share repurchase. $6,654,000 for pre-reward interest, and $6,573,115 for fees and costs to claimants. You know whose pocket that coming out of, eh? In arriving at the repurchase price, the tribunal deducted from WRB's repurchase amount all dividends they received from the time of the claim to the time of the award. Grenadians now have the opportunity to benefit from the new framework and lower prices, including households generating and using their own electricity, while selling any excess to GRENADABROADCAST at prices regulated by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Statement from the government of Grenada. Brian, that came out about 24 hours ago. All right. Now, this afternoon, I guess somebody woke up and sent out virtually the same release. The changes being that the award is now quoted in U.S. dollars. So just let me read, hold on a sec, buddy. Let me read that for you. $58,427,962 U.S. dollars. That's for share repurchase. $6,654,000 for pre-award interest. And finally, $6,573,115 for fees and costs to claimants. Again, the closing paragraph says, in effect, this final settlement presents a golden opportunity for electricity consumers in Grenada to obtain cheaper electricity, just as telephone users did in 2000, after the liberalization of the telecommunications sector, through the unimpeded implementation of a new framework which will allow, among other things, households and businesses to generate and use their own electricity while selling any excess to GRENADABROADCAST at prices regulated by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission. You haven't had time to analyze those because you haven't seen them, but if you go to my website, Grenada Broadcast, take a look and absorb what is being said there.
One of your people on social media, they comment about the price of oil on the world market recently. The price of oil has plummeted, huh? So the fuel charge is going to be reduced tremendously. If I'm not mistaken, this is somewhere in the low teens or early. And with the war of words between, so the price will probably stay there for a while. So government might very well put their hands up and say, we are giving you cheaper electricity. But that is only because the non-fuel charge or the fuel charge has been tremendously reduced because of the world price of oil.
All right, Brian. All right.
Have a good evening.
This is where I'm going to pull the curtain down. But I'll tell you what. Let's leave our listeners tonight with a little ray of hope, something a little bit positive, especially in this time of Corona. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks a lot, buddy, and we shall see thee on Sunday morning. Check this out.
Down. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is isolation. Yes, there is panic buying. Yes, there is sickness. Yes, there is even death. But they say that in Wuhan, after so many years of noise, you can hear the birds again. They say that after just a few weeks of quiet, the sky is no longer thick with fumes, but blue and grey and clear. They say that in the streets of Assisi, people are singing to each other across the empty squares, keeping their windows open so that those who are alone may hear the sounds of family around them. They say that a hotel in the west of Ireland is offering free meals and delivery to the housebound. Today, a young woman I know is busy spreading flyers with her number through the neighbourhood so that the elders may have someone to call on. Today, churches, synagogues, mosques and temples are preparing to welcome and shelter the homeless, the sick, the weary. All over the world, people are slowing down and reflecting. All over the world, people are looking at their neighbours in a new way. All over the world, people are waking up to a new reality, to how big we really are, to how little control we really have, to what really matters, to love. So we pray and we remember that yes, there is fear, but there does not have to be hate. Yes, there is isolation, but there does not have to be loneliness. Yes, there is panic buying, but there does not have to be meanness. Yes, there is sickness, but there does not have to be disease of the soul. Yes, there is even death, but there can always be a rebirth of love. Wake to the choices you make as to how to live now. Today, breathe. Listen. Behind the factory noises of your panic, the birds are singing again. The sky is clearing. Spring is coming. And we are always encompassed by love. Open the windows of your soul. And though you may not be able to touch across the empty square, sing.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Thank you very much. I hope that hit home for a lot of people.
Juve chocolates cocoa nibs and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hey Lynn,
Hey neighbor,
here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
how did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GRENADAC, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, on that note, we're going to pull the curtain down. It's been a nice little hour or so, hour, 8 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow, I'll be getting ready for Sunday morning. And just in case you haven't yet done so, spread the word around about our weekday shebang on weekday evenings or week evenings, if you will. 8 o'clock in the evening. And we're going to do that for the time being. Then we'll have to make a decision as to whether or not we remain in the evening or go on back to 9 a.m. Already I'm hearing from some of you who say, going back to 9 o'clock, going back to 9 o'clock. In the evening, I want to watch TV. Yeah, and some of you are saying, boy, because I'm at work during the day, I like the evening thing. So we'll have to put that before the board of directors, meaning toi, you. Okay? When the time comes, we'll make that decision. Like they say, when you get to that bridge, you'll cross it. In the meantime, my dear friends, I do send you the love of God and His blessings today and always. May your heart be at peace, and let not your heart be troubled. God bless you.